pro-truth family, what's going on? I have been doing a lot of videos on. I have a lot of videos for you to on YouTube about paternity tests, and this one is very important because this hits home for me because I've been through this, as in when it comes to paternity tests. So, brothers, I always tell y'all that it's very important to choose the right mate on who you want to give your seed to because a lot of our women here in America are crazy. You have a lot of women out here that are not being raised to be mothers, they're not being raised to be wives. So it is very important on who you pick to give your seed to because anything could go wrong. The government is collecting over two I'm sorry, they're collecting billions of dollars off of child support. 3 out of 10 men that take paternity tests, 3 of them usually are not the father. So this is very important. We have a government official that ran into a young man in Memphis, Tennessee, and the young man found out that the child that he was raising was not his, and he was still put on child support by the government. So, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to let y'all hear his story. First, the government official is going to speak on it, and then the person that it actually happened to is going to speak on it. And this is a bill that they are going to pass in Tennessee on making DNA tests mandatory. So we'll get to that. But let's go ahead and get into the video. And Wiser, what's your question? Matter of fact, hold on. Y'all mugs, boy. Hold on one second. Go ahead. What's your question before I start?
Okay. Well, it wasn't nothing pertaining to the video. I needed a quick question about the app. Like when I'm going live.
All right, brothers and sisters. Oh, by the way, I have two special guests. Two beautiful young ladies. I'm not going to say their name, but I got two beautiful young ladies that probably chime in here and there through the video. So let's go ahead and get to the video.
And let me say thank you for your indulgence on this bill. I think this is an important discussion that that needs to be had. And so just for those that were not in the Civil Committee sub, I want to just lay this out for you. I was stopped in the barbershop, this is back in about 2016, 2017, by a young man, and he told me the story of him being in a long-term relationship. A baby was produced, and he signed the birth certificate because he had no reason to believe that there was infidelity in his relationship. A little over 5 years later, he was told by the grandmother of the child that she had been with her ex-boyfriend during the time of their relationship. This prompted him to seek a DNA test. The test results proved that he was not the father, and subsequently, when he discussed this with the mother, the relationship ended. The mother then opened a child support case against him, and while in juvenile court in Shelby County, he tested it and was given a DNA test by the juvenile court. After presenting his DNA evidence, they wouldn't accept his DNA evidence, but they gave him another DNA test. And when the DNA test in juvenile court came back the same way, saying that he was not the child's father, the magistrate in juvenile court said, and I quote, "Somebody's got to feed him, and it will be you," and gavelled him out, and he was ordered to pay child support. And back then, that was before we capped arrears at 5 years. So he actually walked out with arrears going all the way back to the birth of the child. So he walked out of juvenile court in arrearage. And because he was in arrearage, he couldn't catch up, and eventually his license was suspended through child support enforcement. And while his license was suspended, he was pulled over on his way to work for driving on a suspended license, and he was taken to jail. Sitting in jail for those few days, he lost his job. His life was turned completely upside down due to this situation. Because he initially signed the voluntary acknowledgement of paternity without any proof that he was actually the father of the child because he had no reason to question the person he was in a relationship with. And the child at the time when they went to juvenile court was 5 years and 1 month old. When he went through that legal process, they hinged the decision on the fact that he was past the 5-year statute of limitation. And he was stuck responsibly for a child that was not his. It wasn't in the child's life.
So, brothers, I'm gonna just say this real quick. In the state of Tennessee back then, you had 5 years to find out if the child was yours. If after 5 years, if you sign that birth certificate, you are responsible for that child. It is your responsibility because that is a contract that you sign. And the courts, they don't care because they're gonna get their money regardless. They're gonna take it from your pockets or they're gonna take it out your ass. And what I mean by that is they'll put your ass in jail. That's what I mean. Because at the end of the day, brothers, they don't care about you. Because when you go to court, you are not just fighting the woman, you are also fighting the state. Keep that in mind, brothers. So let's go ahead and continue.
Life, and he was still, his life was still turned upside down due to this whole situation. Uh, Under that scenario, because of the laws around voluntary acknowledgement of paternity, when he signed that voluntary acknowledgement of paternity, he became the legal father of this child. The challenge and the issue with this is that, number one, this is not a rare story. Number two, there's an actual biological father who's missing an opportunity to be in his child's life, either because of the omission of the information and the fact that that biological parent's legal rights to his child were taken from him because of the blind signing of a voluntary acknowledgement of paternity. And I want you to think about that. Just think about that in your terms for all of the fathers up here. If someone, God forbid, had beat you to signing a voluntary acknowledgement of paternity, those of you that are not wed, of course, then they would have taken your opportunity to be the legal parent to your biological child based on the policies that are in place. This situation is not rare. One out of every three signatures on a birth certificate, and these are through multiple reports, are not the actual biological father. And this is due to, in many cases, this is due to voluntary acknowledgement of paternity programs.
Brothers, 1 out of 3. 1 out of 3, brothers. Let me tell you something. And that was just in the state of Tennessee. What do you think the numbers is if it was the whole United States? It would be a lot. Let me tell you something, brothers, a lot of women would be dead. They just had an incident where a man who found out that all 5 of his kids wasn't his, and he beheaded her. I don't even know where that was at. I forgot. Matter of fact, I forgot what state or what country that was in. Brothers, I don't even feel bad for her. I don't. Because when you hear the whole story, she was actually kind of getting on him as being a terrible father. And I don't know what made him go to take the paternity test of all 5 of his kids, but that's going to make you go crazy. 5 kids? I'm going to be honest with you, brothers. There are people in the United States that need to be eliminated, and I have no problem with that. I know that people are going to be like, oh, well, what about the kids? Oh, well, she wasn't thinking about them kids like that. So, brothers, we got to do better because we got to take responsibility for this. In order for the black women to get in place, we got to get in place first. We got to set the standard, black man. We got to set the standard.
Lastly, under this scenario also, that child, that child loses the right to have their legal parent, their biological parent rather, as their legal parent in their life. Think about what I'm saying. These parental rights are taken because of these programs with absolutely no safeguards in place to ensure that the actual biological father is the actual person that is signed onto this birth certificate. Now, in defense of, and let me thank our Department of Human Services also, because we've had extensive conversations in this. I think our Department of Human Services have a valid argument as to why they're pushing back on this legislation. Because under the Health and Human Services rules at the federal level, it says that all states are to put a voluntary acknowledgement of paternity program in place. But it doesn't allow for safeguards to be put in place, such as a DNA test that would confirm that this is the actual biological father of this child. So in essence, what can happen is this. Let me lay it out for you. A mother can have a child, and let's say, and these are for unwed individuals only. A mother can have a child, let's say she has a new boyfriend in her household. And either through omission, not telling him that there could be another father, or through just a straight out lie, saying, hey, you're the father, or through possibly, I don't know, and inferring that you're the father, or not saying anything and letting the guy assume that he's the father, he signs the birth certificate. But it's that omission that is the elephant in the room that no one is talking about that would have solved this problem. So under this legislation, it would require a DNA test to complete the voluntary acknowledgement of paternity process. And that's what this amendment would do.
Brothers, if DNA test was mandatory, I promise you it would fix a lot of the problems in this so-called black community. All these females running around here sleeping with random men, I promise you it would fix a lot of stuff. And that would probably be a big fix alone in the black community. Some of these women would probably start acting like ladies, because you got a lot of our women running around here acting like skeezers and hoes. It will fix a lot of problems, brothers. I don't make these things up. Let's continue.
Last thing I want to tell you, mention to you, is that there have been some that said you can the putative father or the accused father could ask for a DNA test, but we have to look at the reality of the matter. If you're in a hospital and you have a mother that just had a baby, and a lot of times family members are around, grandmother, other children, how do you turn to that woman who just pushed this life out of her body and say, hey, I want a DNA test? And then you could possibly be wrong. It could actually be your child. So your relationship is done from that point. And if it is your child, you got a good 20-some years that you have to try to work through this damaged relationship because you accused this woman falsely. And if it comes back, or if you ask for a DNA test and it's not your child, your relationship is done. And so, Mr. Chair, I want to stop right there, and I think we got DHS that wants to speak, and another individual that wants to speak. It's up.
So, brother, before the brother speaks, one way you could fix this problem, so that way you don't really break up a relationship with you and your woman, the woman that you get with, and you plan on having a child with her, you let her know from the get-go before you let her know that if you are pregnant and I want to have a DNA test. You let her know before you even give her your seed. Let her know from the beginning, brothers. That's all you got to do. That's an easy fix. Don't wait until you get to the hospital, because of course the woman's gonna look at you like you don't trust her. But that ain't it, brother. You have to protect yourself because nobody else is going to do it. The courts don't give a shit about you. The government don't give a shit about you. The white man don't give a shit about you. They don't care. And to be honest with you, a lot of our women don't give a shit about you, black man. So let her know from the beginning that, baby, if we plan on having a child, I want to make sure that I take a DNA test. We got to take a DNA test. That's easy fix. Let's continue.
At your will, go out of session.
Okay, let me ask you this before we go there. Is your intention to move forward with this bill today?
It is my intention to have a good, robust discussion and be at the will of the chairman and the committee, Mr. Chair.
Because I was under the understanding that you wanted to speak on it. Let people testify, then you're going to take it off notice. I just want to know if I'm still on the same page.
I think we are. But what I would rather do is have a real summer study on this bill, and we find the solutions to address this issue around HHS rules. But I think it's important for everybody to know HHS rules and everything that comes with it.
Okay. So is your intention to move this to summer study once we're finished with this?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Members, any objection going out of the session? I have Travis Curry. Are you present, sir? Travis? Travis is here. Then I have DHS, and I have the Department of Health on the list. So, members, without objection, if needed. Excuse me. Thank you, Robbie. Without objection, we're going to go out of session and hear from Mr. Curry. Hey, Travis, appreciate you coming down here. If you would, just make sure your red light's on there. Sir, introduce yourself to the committee, and we'll give you 3 minutes to speak. Say whatever you want to say. And then we'll have unlimited time for questions and everything else. If anybody has any.
So, brother, just to reiterate, we're about to have the brother that actually talked to the government official about his situation. So you're going to hear from the horse's mouth about what exactly happened.
Questions for you. So appreciate you being here.
Hello, everyone. My name is Travis Curry. I'm from Memphis, Tennessee, and I'm just honored to be able to stand here and just explain myself to you all about why I'm going through the things that I'm going through with my situation in life. As a young man, I made some decisions and made a baby. Well, at least I thought I made a baby. Most black young men don't have fathers, so I didn't grow up with one. So when I found out about this situation, I was eager, I was ready to do it. Signed the birth certificate, I was happy. Time went by in the situation, and people started saying, hey, family members, her family members, hey, you need to go get a DNA test. And I'm like, why? This is my son. It's my junior. I got my name,
Brothers, that's crazy. Her family members told him to take a DNA test. Not his family members, her family members. The mother told him to take a DNA test. So somewhere along the line, they knew that their own child, their own family, knew that the mother was a hoe. That ain't good, brothers. Your own family snitching on you. But let's go ahead and continue.
I'm playing ball with him every day. I got this relationship with this young man, and I kept going forward. So I went on and did that. Did the DNA test when he was about 2 years old. Come to find out he's not my son. So at this point, I'm looking at a child every day that's not mine, and I don't know how to approach him no more. I don't know how to hold him. I don't know how to be his father no more because of the hurt on the inside. But I know I got a job I got to do because at the time his mother had some trouble with the law. So now this child is in my custody. And every day I have to get this child up and get him together, put his clothes on, take him to school, pick him up, feed him.
So brothers, the girl that he got pregnant, she was in prison or in jail. So obviously he was messing with a hood rat. So brother, you're gonna have to take accountability for that. You should have known not to be messing with no hood rat. But let's go ahead and continue.
But I'm still taking care of someone else's child in the back of my mind. So I go to the courts, I talk to the judges, I ask for all the help I could get. I couldn't get any help. I finally got into court, got a DNA test. I presented mine. Once I talked to the magistrate and she saw everything that I had been doing for the past 3-4 years, she finally stopped the child support because keep in mind I was on child support while I had the boy, while she was in jail, incarcerated. So, going forward, she gets out of jail. I had only one rule for this young man, with her. Get yourself together, get a job, get a home, give him his own room like I gave him. She did all those things. I gave him back to her. You know, we had an agreement because he wanted to know who his mother was. He always wanted to know. I never held him back from her. I took him to see her. I just wanted him to know because children deserve to know who their parents are. She got out. We did everything. I did what I said I was going to do. I went on and signed him back over to the mother. As soon the first week I gave him back, I got a letter within 3 weeks. Child support. By this time, this young man was about 7. Now I'm in court. I get a DNA test. Juvenile court loses it. We go through the same situation again, so time is still rolling. This is 2018, the next time we get back in court for this situation. At this time, I hadn't been in his life since he was 6 years old because she totally pulled back until she was getting child support. 2018, the judge told me that, you know, they did a DNA test. It came back that he's not mine. And she said, well, you signed the paperwork and you can't bash him as a child. And I said, Your Honor, well, what about men like me that tried and knew and thought this was my child? You have the evidence here showing that this is not my son. What do I do at this point? Well, somebody got to take care of him. It looks like it's going to be you, in so many words. So at this point, I'm still trying to fight this. She tells me that I have to petition it.
You see that, brothers? Again, the court system does not give a shit about you. The only thing they worried about is getting paid. The judge, the lawyer, that's all they worried about, brothers. Because he is now owned by the state. He had to fight the state, so now he has to report to the state and the mother. And the mother knows that he's not even the father, but yet she tries to put him on child support to get him because I'm going to put money. She probably knows who the biological father is, but he's probably the better person because the other one is probably a bum. And we see that a lot, brothers. A lot of our women are always dating bums. But yet they will try to get the good person because the bum, they can't get over on him. Because a lot of our women, they like chaos. They love chaos. And this is how a lot of black men get run to the ground. And they're quote unquote bitter. Because now he had to deal with one baby mama that's tearing his ass apart. And now if he gets with another woman, it's going to make things work because he's going to keep his head on a swivel. So then you have a lot of black men that look at other black women in a negative way. But again, brother, we got to take responsibility because the woman, they have a childlike mentality. They don't give a damn about you. And I'm going to tell you something too, brothers. A lot of these women that say they love black men, don't believe them. Because they are the same women that the next day that would say that niggas ain't shit. They'll say that out the same mouth. One day they'll say I love my black men. The next day they say niggas ain't shit. So watch yourself, brothers. But let's continue with this story.
Not knowing much about the law and legal, the way everything is set up, I let the time go by a little bit on me. And pretty much I'm still paying child support for a child that's not mine. I don't think it's fair that people have to take care of children that's not theirs and be forced. Especially when you tell me that I have to prove that this child is not mine when you have the documentations here because you didn't take mine that I spent my hard work and money for at the time trying to go to school, take care of a child, and be the father to someone that's not mine. So right now today I'm still fighting this situation. I'm still going through it. The young man's 15 years old. He doesn't know me as his father. He knows me as his brother's father. He knows through his mother that I'm not the father. She's told him the story. I speak to the young man. He don't want to have any dealings with me because he's hurt at the fact that I'm not his father.
And that's another thing, brothers. The child who thought that he was the father is now hurt. And he has to go through that. But again, a lot of these women don't care. Most of our women are selfish, brothers. They are the biggest narcissists because they only care about self. The Most High gave them the maternity DNA so that way they could care about somebody else besides self. Most of our women, especially in America, are selfish. selfish. They don't care about nobody except themselves. And that's a fact. Let's continue.
So it's a win-lose situation for me, you know. But at the same token, I'm the one taking all the losses because the judge asked the young lady, "Hey, do you still want child support for this child?" And first thing she said was, "Yes, Your Honor." The first thing I thought the judge would have said, "Well, you know, I don't think he owes you anything else. He did a whole lot," but that didn't go that way. So at this point now, I'm stuck. I've been going through this. I'm honored for you all to hear my story. Maybe things could change, you know. It's a small group of people up here that understand what's going on. You know, society has changed, and there's a lot of things going on out there that need to be heard. You know, people shouldn't take care of children that are not theirs.
All right.
That is a fact. Brothers, it is not your responsibility to take care of another man's child. It used to be, I'm going to be honest with you, back in maybe in the 50s and the 60s, it used to be an honor to be a stepfather. Brothers, it is no honor to be no stepfather in today's time, in modern time. It is, again, it is not your responsibility to take care of another man's sperm. Let them go back to their baby daddy. The same, these women that's 20, 25 that got 2 and 3 kids, you can find a woman that have no kids at that same age. It ain't even that serious, brothers. There's nothing wrong with taking care of another man's child, but it can be dangerous. And again, it's not your responsibility. Don't let these women tell you that you need to go help out the black community. Your community starts inside your home, not in the streets. Don't listen to these women. Let's continue.
Thank you. Your 3 minutes is up. I'll let you go a little longer because I want you to be able to finish your what happened to you. And I believe that we may have a law. I believe Representative Parks had passed a law on the House floor last week that removed the statute of limitations for this. So once the governor signs that, I'm not for sure. I'd have to look at it. You may be able to take advantage of that law and use it to ask the court to reconsider your status as the legal father of that child. I don't know. You need to speak to outside counsel about that when the law passes. But members, do we have any questions for Mr. Curry? Yeah, you can ask a question. You're a member of this committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for your testimony. Can you tell us what happened before you signed the voluntary acknowledgement of paternity or the birth certificate? What was the process for that? What happened? How did that happen?
Oh, we were in a relationship.
Speaking of
Mr. Curry,
we were in a relationship, and at the time, you know, I didn't have no reason to believe it was nobody else to be the father. So, you know, I never questioned it. I never had a reason to question it. I never thought it was somebody else, you know. So that was the process. That was the beginning process of it, and that was the reason for me signing it because, like I said, I didn't doubt the situation.
Okay. President Parkinson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, for the follow-up. And 2 questions. Did she tell you that you were the father? That's one. And what information did the hospital or wherever you signed that form at, what information did they tell you in regards to signing that form?
She told me I was.
Mr. Curry, you're recognized.
Yeah, she told me I was the father. I asked her, you know, made sure, you know, because everybody was coming at me, and then, you know, at the time she was having the baby, I was at work, so I was rushing. By the time I made it there, that afternoon, her parents were already in there. At that time, you're gonna have 2 people in. So when they finally switched out with them, they were doing paperwork. So when I came in, it was my turn to sign. So I guess everything that she had went over with her, it was with her, you know. I just, you know, I signed my name. She said this is, you know, where it needs to be at, and she already named him Travis Jr., and it was for me to confirm. And that's basically what I did.
Okay, very good. President Parkinson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And so, did anybody discuss anything about 60 days with you? Anything about paternity fraud or anything before you signed that form?
No,
Mr.
sir.
Curry.
Yeah, and wait for the chair to call your name before you speak, if you don't mind.
You're recognized. Go ahead.
No, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Members, do we have anyone would like to ask any questions for our speaker? Well, thank you for being here, sir. We certainly appreciate you letting us know what you've been through. And with that said, I do not believe I have anyone else that wants to speak on this bill while we're out of session. So, members, without objection, we'll go back in session. Now we're back on the bill as amended. And Professor Parkins, do you have anything you want to say before I take questions?
No, I'll answer the questions and then close if you don't mind.
Okay, Representative Griffith, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I'm not unsympathetic to your situation, sir, and it's unfortunate. And the difficulty I see is we've been doing a process now for many, many years of voluntary acknowledgement of paternity. And I think if we're going to address this situation, first and foremost, I personally, I can't imagine trying to raise children without a mom and a dad together. And that commitment to each other and that commitment to your children is it's a fundamental of the way we live in the world. And we need to encourage that, promote that, get people to commit to that. As to the other issue, because life is what it is, maybe going forward the thing to do is not allow voluntary acknowledgement of petitions without a DNA confirmation and just make that the state law going forward. So that's all I have to say, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
In closing, Representative Parkinson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Okay, and well, Representative Griffith, that's what we were attempting to do, but Health and Human Services will cause our Department of Human Services to lose millions of dollars if we add a DNA test on the front end of voluntary acknowledgement of paternity.
Y'all heard that? They will lose millions of dollars if they do that, because guess who has to pay for that? The government. The government will have to pay for mandatory DNA tests. And that's something that they don't want to do, because they will lose money with that, and they will also lose money in the court system, because now the woman has to find out who the father is. That's if she slept with multiple men. So, brothers, I'm going to tell you something, and this is even including myself, because this is something that I really didn't even know about. I'm going to tell you something. I don't give a shit about politics, but these are some of the things that you could fight for when going to some of these meetings. I know y'all, when y'all out here talking about all this silly ass shit that doesn't mean shit, y'all want to talk about the black community, this is some shit that y'all should try to get fixed right now. Mandatory DNA test. I promise you that if the whole United States if a DNA test was made mandatory in the whole United States, I promise you some of these women would be fixed. They wouldn't be running around here acting like some skeezers and hoes. Because now because now the woman would have to take responsibility and accountability for their actions. Because right now the only thing that's happening is they're not even getting a slap on the wrist. They're getting rewarded for being hoes. You go to court, she goes to court, he ain't the father, but she still gets paid. She's actually getting rewarded for being a hoe. I hope y'all understand that. She gets paid to be a hoe. All she got to do is get pregnant, pick somebody to be the father, have they social. Yeah, I slept with him. Oh, he's not the father. Oh, you signed a birth certificate. That's it, and she's good to go. Brothers, protect your seed, black man. Protect your seed. But let's continue.
And so that's why I'm asking that when we close this out, that when we do the study, if we do a study and do a real study, that we find ways of addressing that without causing Department of Human Service to lose TANF funds and other things. And I think, and to close also, I think it's important also to note that this young man, when he spoke to me, he didn't say it up here, but when he spoke to me, he said that a lot of black men, and this is not just a black issue, so let's be clear, because when I first started running legislation, it was...
Oh, sir, it is a black issue. It's a black issue. Even though I know that you have to be politically correct, because you're standing in front of some Caucasians, but it's a black issue. But let's continue.
It's the rural DAs that asked me to help them with legislation. And so, but he came from a vantage point that I would have came from too, two things. One is a lot of our black children don't have fathers in their lives, right? And so when she said that he was the father, he was more than willing to step up to start trying to remedy that situation. So let's be.
And that myth that black men don't take care of their children, brother, that's a lie. Don't believe that. Most black men want to be involved with their children. And you have a lot of black men that are taking care of children that's not even theirs. You have a lot of stepdaddies. And they're willing to help out. But I'm going to say it again. It's not your responsibility, black man, if it's not your child. It is not your responsibility.
Be clear on that. But he's paying for trying to do the right thing. He's been fighting this for 14 years. 14 years, right? And this is the vantage point I'm coming from with this legislation. There is a real biological father that is out there who may not even know that he has a child because of the omission, or who may know that he has a child because the mother would have to tell him, but they are receiving the benefit of this man's hard money while the biological father gets a ride. But I really believe that most people are like this young man right here. Most of the fathers, they want to be involved in their child's life if they know that they have a child. The elephant in the room is the omission. And that, Mr. Chair, I'm sorry. I just want to make sure you hear this, because I need you to hear this, Mr. Chair, if you don't mind, and I apologize. But the elephant in the room is the omission or the non-disclosure of the information that there could be another father, or you might possibly not be the father, or you are not the father. And because if it takes an act of Congress to change the HHS rules, then we need to address the elephant in the room to ensure that biological fathers actually have access to their children. One out of every three do not. And I hope that this sinks well deep into the psyche of the members and everybody that's listening, so that we can get it right in Tennessee and be the model for making sure that biological parents have access to their actual biological children. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
And thank you for that. Next on the list, I have Representative Garrett.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I move to House Bill 2698 to summer study.
That's proper motion, proper second. Any objection? Seeing none, looks like we'll be voting to send House Bill 2698 as amended to a real summer study. So all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say no. Ayes have it.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And thank you, committee.
Thank you.
I think you got a question over
And
there. And thank you to.
So brother, that's pretty much it, brothers. I just wanted just to show you, I do a lot of the court cases and all that stuff, but I just wanted to show you what happened. So, brothers, if you got time, and again, that's even including myself, take time out and see if you can go to your city council and see if maybe you could push this issue. That's just a first step to get some of this shit rectified out here. There's gonna be a lot of women upset, but hey, they'll be all right. They have a childlike mentality anyway. Fix it. We could all fix it, black man. You want to fix your so-called black community? You can start there. Not going to go vote for some stinky-ass president. Nobody cares about that. But that's pretty much it, brothers. Like, share, and subscribe.